Some of the most important lessons are the ones we learn about who we are.
And still do our native dances, because could all our ancestors do that at all times? No, we're pretty blessed, right?
As a member of the Bad River Ojibwe, Jason Dropick knows discovering our deepest roots can be difficult.
I had struggles growing up because of that, not understanding, who I was or what that meant.
He's the head of the Indian Community School.
6th through 8th graders are making their own moccasins, a way of really just being proud of their identity and what's unique about the different moccasin styles that they're creating. Your fingers getting sore? No, that's good.
The students at this pre-K through 8th grade tuition-free private school are members or descendants of Native American tribes. They learn to embrace their culture in ways at other schools they may not.
And it was really always talked about in this historical context, almost as if we didn't exist anymore.
Thought about how you're going to finish it together. We looked at all of the bookshelves throughout all of the whole United States. How many of those characters are First Nations characters or stories written by First Nations authors? Less than 1%.
The faculty and the staff and the community help these children with that question that's very important to sometimes even adults, which is, who am I? And culture is a huge aspect of that.
In many ways, a school like this is a light within a dark part of the history of education in America.
Boarding school had a traumatic impact, and it still does to this day.
Starting in the 1800s and continuing to as late as around the 1970s, hundreds of thousands of indigenous children were forcibly separated from their families and sent to boarding schools run by the U.S. government and churches. They were forced into what the schools saw as American culture. They were banned from speaking their native languages. Abuse was often routine. Many children never came home. This year, the U.S. government ordered a review of boarding schools after the remains of 215 indigenous children, some as young as 3, were found at a former Canadian boarding school in May.
We have families that have lost connection to their ways of being that are essential to their well-being.
Students like 8th grader Jada know this personally.
One of my grandmas actually went to a boarding school, and she said that it was terrible. She's glad that she's still alive today because what they had gone through in boarding schools was awful. Here it feels like I'm a part of a community that accepts me for who I am, which makes me very happy.
I worry about those students that we don't serve, that have those experiences daily in communities where they're not validated or where their existence is still thought of in a historical context, where it's either only about foods or certain holidays or a certain time of the month that we're going to talk about it, and it's often with prejudice and misinformation.
Jason says it is important that no student loses the opportunity, like many have before them, to learn what makes them who they are. In Franklin, Wisconsin, I'm Chris Stewart reporting.